almost game day. Our guys have had a tremendous week here, and as always, the folks from the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl are extraordinary. The folks from the entire Valley of the Sun are tremendous. We can't wait to get out to Glendale this afternoon to have our guys see the stadium and walk through, and then wish the game were tomorrow at about noon, but we'll have to anguish through the long day for those later games. But our kids are excited. They've worked extremely hard. I can't ask any more from them, from our staff. We're proud of our fans that have come out and supported us and supported the Phoenix area and supported the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. And it's just an honor and a pleasure to be a part of this great week.
Questions for Coach Tressel? Again, we ask that you please use the cordless microphones. Back right.
Coach Brown talked about how similar the two programs are, two prestigious football programs, and they're very, very similar. Could you comment on that?
Yeah, I think you can go all the way to very similar institutions, you know, great research institutions, some of the greatest things being done in the world in terms of research and education, and educating thousands of kids a year, and the culture of both of our states is that we love football. You know, it's deeply entwined in who we are, and we have that great legacy at both institutions. You know, that football has been successful many, many times, and you know, to have a chance to put both of those similar groups in one stage here in the greatest bowl there is, you know, it's a lot of fun.
Far left.
Coach Brown earlier had mentioned when he looks at Terrell Pryor, he sees a young Vince Young. Could you comment on that similarity?
Well, I think when all of us during the recruiting stages were watching Terrell, you know, that was the first person that came to mind, because, you know, Vince had, you know, just had that tremendous success in taking his team to the national championship and going on and doing very well in the professional ranks. And I remember talking with Mac about that very thing. We were at an American Football Coaches Board meeting during the year prior to his to Terrell's signing and so forth, and he really felt that he did look similar to Vince in high school, and I'm sure as he watches him now, you know, he feels as if you know, that is that type of young man. He works at it extremely hard. You know, I'm sure deep down, you know, it's one of the role models that he has for playing that position, and you know, we certainly hope he becomes as good as Vince Young, you know, like by Monday.
Far left.
Coach Brown mentioned that he thought there was more pressure on Texas and that they would see a loose Jim Tressel really going for it, and that he would have the guns drawn. I'm not sure loose is the word I would use to describe you. Are you feeling loose? And
oh, I'm loose. I mean, it's you know, I think more than loose, I'm just appreciative to be out here, and you know, you think about the opportunity, especially for our 28 seniors, that you do want to let it all hang out. You know, this is their last opportunity, and you know, you're not going to hold anything in reserve, and playing against a great team, you know, arguably the best team in the country, and you know, I don't know that I would consider it, you know, just going to waltz out and, you know, just casually play the ball game. And we've prepared extremely hard. It's very important to us, but you know, we're not going to hold anything in reserve, that's for sure.
Here in the center.
Speaking of those 28 seniors, given their quantity and the quality of all they've accomplished during their career, what some sort of emotions do you anticipate feeling tomorrow as you say goodbye, or, you know, what sort of message do you send to them?
Well, just the other day when we were right back in this facility for Media Day, we were sitting around waiting our turn, and a lot of those guys were talking about the fact that, man, on Tuesday, their whole life is going to change. As, you know, they've known it for the last 4 or 5 years, and you know, that was a little bit frightening to them, and a little bit special to them. And you know, there will be a wide range of emotions, because we've got guys who, you know, have done extraordinary things on and off the field, made an impact in our community and on our campus and in the game. We've had guys who have had some tough situations arise in their lives and in their football careers and all the rest. And so there is a huge range of emotions, and probably the most difficult emotion all of us will have, which I've always felt on the last day of the season, whether it was playing in a national championship game, a bowl game, or the last game of a regular season, and that was going to be it, was that, you know, this group as it is this moment will never be together again the same way. And you could never have that back. And, you know, people keep great records of how many games you won and all those types of things. And, you know, the thing I've always cherished is the process toward, you know, those records. And that's what, you know, that's what you'll miss. Is they'll tell you they're going to miss the times in the weight room, getting after each other in the locker room, and you know, on the practice field and on bowl trips and all those kinds of things. So, you know, it's a special time, and it's in other ways it's a little bit of a sad time.
Far left.
Jim, two quick questions. Number one, is Beanie as primed as you've seen him in a while? You know, I mean, he seems like he really wants to make a statement in this game. And then number two, maybe this is too simplistic, but does it come down to you guys being able to control or stop their passing game, and them being able to control and stop your running game?
Well, I would say this. I think Beanie's really excited. Beanie has the same emotions toward those 28 guys as the rest of us do, and it's really important to him, you know, to do the best he can possibly do. And so I don't know if he's as interested in making a statement for Beanie as he is for his teammates. You know, as far as is it that simple as to the outcome of the game? No, I think every play is going to have a chance, you know, to make the difference in the game, whether it's a punt return or a field goal snap or an open field tackle on one of the great Texas receivers, or you know, us coming up with a big catch, or us diving for the first down. That's the beautiful part of football. There'll be, I don't know, 175 total plays or whatever, and you don't know which one is going to be the difference maker, and you know, that's why you have to play each one of them like that will be the difference. And you know, will there be moments that we've got to make sure we try to contain that great passing offense? Absolutely. But you better tackle their run game too. And you better tackle them when you punt it to them and kick it off to them and all the rest. And yes, we need to do a good job of running the football, but we better throw it too, because if we don't throw it effectively, we probably won't be able to run it. So the beautiful part of football is it's all tied together.
Here in the center.
Jim, two questions about the offensive line. First, Mike Brewster as a freshman center. What progress have you seen from him during bowl practice, and where is he as he gets ready for this game? And also the other day, Jim Bowman said if the game was that day, Ben Person would have been the starting left guard, Steve Raring at right guard, and Jim Cordell working in. Mm-hmm. Has anything changed with that, or where do you see that rotation shaking out?
No, that'll be the rotation for now. Jim missed a good bit of the practice back home and has done all the practice here. And Ben took all the snaps back home. So Ben will begin the game, but Jimmy's going to play plenty. As far as Mike Brewster, I think he's evolved throughout the whole season, all the way from whatever it was, game 3 or 4, when he took over the center duties, and those guys next to him helped him figure it out. And I think he's a little bit closer now to the point where he's got a little bit more of it figured out on his own, although he still, I'm sure, counts on a little help from those veterans. And the bowl practice was very valuable for him, because he lined up against our guys every day, and you know, they put pressure on you, and so, you know, this experience against a great Texas front, you know, will be another great thing for Michael Brewster, you know, as he tries to develop and become, you know, a very, very good center.
Back left, far back left.
Jim, along those same lines, can you just talk about what jumps out at you about the Texas defense?
Speed to start with. I mean, those guys can run. They're always in the right place. They play with a lot of enthusiasm. You know, they just keep coming. They're relentless. You know, one of the things that we always hope that we can have as a defense is a group that's relentless. No matter what happened the last play, whether it was a good thing or a bad thing, you know, they're coming back after you the next play. The other thing I would say about Texas defense is they have great depth. You know, they play a lot of guys in the front. They play a lot of linebackers. They've played, especially due to some injuries and so forth, a significant number of guys in the back end. And, you know, as many teams as they've faced that spread the ball out all over the field, they've got 4 and 5, 6 DBs in the game, you know, at times. So they've got a lot of folks who have played a lot of football, and they can flat out run, and that's what you want in your defense, and they love to hit you.
Here on the right.
Jim, just wondered if Ken right here. Just wondered if there were anything that happened this week, injury-wise, discipline-wise, that would affect playing time at all Monday, and also if you could give us your latest thoughts on Nathan Williams.
Well, Nathan's going to miss some playing time, but we should be in pretty good shape. Otherwise, Brandon Sane, I don't know, if he'll be able to help. He really hasn't, worked as much as we would like. He's going to dress and so forth. Really, the only guys that won't dress and won't be available would be guys like Curtis Terry and Lawrence Wilson, Willie Mobley, some guys that have had some, season-ending injuries. J.B. Shugarts has practiced a little bit more. He'll probably have a postseason surgery, but he'll at least be available for some backup role. Michael Adams is coming along a little bit more, and I think is more ready to play significantly if needed. So I think we're in pretty good health, and be ready to go.
Coach, will you just talk about the uniqueness of the stadium and the rolling in and out of the field, and how nice does that make it for your guys?
Well, our guys, unless they've seen it on TV or something, wouldn't have even maybe known that it rolls in and out. It's probably been in there for a couple weeks now with the playoffs and the Cardinals and all that. But, the fact that you're indoors playing on an outdoor field is a little unique, and they do a great job, with it. They've had the Insight game and the Cardinals playoff game and now our game. And I know the folks at the Fiesta Bowl well enough to know they're working night and day to make sure it's the best and safest surface we can possibly have. And I think playing in an NFL stadium like this is a thrill for the kids, because it's something they've dreamed about, their whole lives is to do that. And, it adds one more tremendous thing to this experience. They've had so many great experiences being here. This is a week they'll never forget.
You already mentioned special teams a couple times. How would you compare yours and Texas special teams?
Well, I think both sets of special teams have made a difference for their respective squads. I don't think either of us would be here if it weren't for some of the big plays, that the special teams made. I think back to it was 14-3 Oklahoma, and Oklahoma kicked off, and Texas Shipley ran it back for a touchdown. All of a sudden, and the great punt return against Texas Tech, and all those things. And we've had some similar things. Ray Small had a great return against Michigan, and A.J. Trapasso did a great job punting on occasion, knocking people down in and giving us field position and chance to turn the tide in games. And I think their specialists are very talented. Their return guys, are lightning. When you have depth like they have on defense, you're going to have great speed in your special units. And so they do a great job of, whether it's blocking punts or kicks or covering punts or kicks, they do it with great effort. Our coaching staff puts a lot of emphasis in the special teams, as you can tell theirs does. So I think both groups, I think both of us are in the top 7 or 8 in the nation in net punt and, those kinds of things. So, both are very good, and that's going to be a huge difference maker is, who's going to make that play, which of those, 30 special teams plays, are going to change the game. And, that's, you've got to be on guard every single play in a football game like this, and most especially in the special units.
Far left.
Yeah. Jim, each year and each team stands by itself. But the way the last 2 years ended for Ohio State, is it fair to say at all that that's put an extra burden on this team to play well tomorrow night?
Well, I suppose if it's something that an individual is thinking about and it distracts them from thinking about, what they should be, perhaps. But really, as you started at the outset, each team, each play is independent, of another. And our focus has got to be, Ohio State 2008 team playing in the 2009 Fiesta Bowl against a great Texas team. And if we're thinking about anything other than that, it's going to distract you from having the ability, to handle a very difficult task. I would hope that there aren't guys on our team that are disappointed or whatever that, they happened to make the national championship game the last 2 years, because that's not too bad.
Front right.
Coach, what are the next 36 hours like for you, and do you still get butterflies like the kids? Do you get kind of nervous and anxious as game time approaches?
Yeah, I think the last 36 hours are the most difficult because we're the kind of people that always want to be doing something, you know, to be getting ready, and we've had so many meetings, we've had so many practices, they've heard the same thing so many times that you just want that clock to tick. And probably the only thing worse than the 36 hours before the game is the hour before the game, because you're really feeling as if you're fairly useless and so forth. But, you know, of course I get butterflies. If it's important to you, you know, you get nervous about it. And do I think we're prepared? Absolutely. Our kids have worked extremely hard. Our coaches work extremely hard. But that doesn't mean I'm not nervous about, you know, Colt McCoy and all those other guys, because they're pretty well prepared too.
Over in the far left.
Coach, you've intimated that Beanie is ready for the pros, and when he talked the other day, he seemed to diffuse the situation, saying, you know, I haven't decided perhaps not to take anything away from this game. Mm-hmm. Do you sense that this is his last game, that he would go out with this senior group?
You know, I think that he is feeling as if he doesn't want to do anything to distract from this moment, because it's a special moment, and he'll, you know, not have this moment with those guys. You know, I have felt all along that with his talent and the position he plays and those kinds of things, that it may end up being the best thing as we sit down and talk about that after the season, you know, that he move along. But we haven't had that discussion. And he has prepared, you know, with the intent of what the only thing that's important is the Fiesta Bowl, and we'll cross that bridge as we go.
Here in the center.
Good morning, Coach.
Morning.
On ESPN, 90% of the respondents picked Texas to win this game. First of two questions, what have you done to instill the confidence in your team that they can win this game? And then secondly, there seems to be some indication that maybe Brian Hartline committed a team rules violation. Is anything affecting his status for this game, and will he start, will he play?
Well, you know, confidence comes in preparation. And, you know, as you prepare and you watch the film, you know, and you watch yourself practice, then you watch the practice film, if you feel as if you're doing what needs to be done, that instills some confidence. Now, there's a reality part of it as well. You have to go out there and do that against them. And you have to do it play after play after play. And, you know, that will determine how successful we'll be. And, you know, whether it's 90% or 40% or 60%. I've been in games where there have been varying opinions. Sometimes more people thought we were going to win and we didn't, or other times less people thought we were going to win and we did or didn't. The key will be, you know, can we keep that focus on the task at hand, because our guys have prepared. And so I think they're confident in that, and they certainly have been acting as if, you know, they understand the plan. The coaches, I think, have done an extraordinary job of setting a plan, and I think we happen to, you know, have every understanding of the difficulty of the task. I mean, we're playing against a great team, a team that's not going to make mistakes and is not going to give you anything. You're going to have to earn every yard you get, but I think our kids have good confidence. But you know, we'll have to see how that unfolds. As far as Brian Hartline goes, you know, we may have some discussions as we go, but, you know, for the moment, Brian Hartline, the only thing I would say is that he's going to have a great part of this football game.
Back left.
Coach, you said when you got here that you've never been more excited about a postseason game, or you couldn't remember at least, and having coached in as many big ones with huge implications, why is that?
Well, there aren't any postseason games that aren't big. Now, I don't know how many you've been a part of, but, you know, I've been a part of almost 40 postseason games, and every one of them was huge. You know, and so there's not one huger than the other because of the relationship you have with the kids involved. Why is this one, and why do I feel that way? You know, there's been something awfully special about this group of kids, and maybe it's because it's today. You know, I don't know, but they've been very unselfish. They've prepared extremely hard. They care about one another. They have fun with one another. We're playing against a great team, you know, that we have great respect for. We're in a venue that's terrific. the people that, as we landed, that we knew we were going to have a chance to, reconvene our friendships with. It was just a warm feeling, and so you tie all those things together, and you have those emotions. But, hopefully there'll be a day when we're at another postseason game and we think that's the greatest one in the world. But, we're excited about this one.
Here on the right.
Jim, you've emphasized the Michigan game and obviously had a lot of success in that game recently. Are there any elements from that preparation that you take into these other big games, bowl games or other big regular season games, given that you've had so much success in that specific game?
I think a league and a traditional rivalry and a bowl scenario, are really different things. When you're in a league that there are some teams you're going to get to play every year, and they're going to get to play you. They know you. You know them. You bump into them all the time. Then add to it the fact all of us have that rivalry game. And I think whenever you look at a season, you say to yourself that, your conference, is number one, and your rivalry game certainly ranks high up there. And then I don't know that you ever take for granted that you're going to be in the postseason. You go to work. Once you've earned the opportunity to be in the postseason, you really rev it up and get excited about, whomever it is you're playing and whatever your situation happens to be. And so I think it's a little bit different. You have a lot longer time, and people talk a lot about the amount of time, and do you do well when you have more time or less time, and, all those things. And, it's a little bit like, well, do you do well in your openers? You had 9 months, those kinds of things. But I think it's a little bit different than your league and your rival.
Back left.
Coach Tressel, a lot of college football fans, throughout the decades have, grown to appreciate the accomplishments of Archie Griffin. What does it mean to have him around the program, around the kids here in Phoenix, as just kind of an ambassador for Buckeye football and a voice the kids can listen to?
It's pretty special when you're at a university that the CEO of the Alumni Association is a former football player. That tells you a little bit about the culture. Going all the way back to the first question, it's two schools that are so similar in their culture. Ohio State loves football. And, the fact that we've got the only two-time Heisman Trophy winner that's the CEO of our Alumni Association, and our guys are very aware of his presence and his accomplishments and his class and how much he cares about Ohio State and the impact he makes around the community, not just for Ohio State, but, for other causes. It's a great role model, for our guys to see, and you probably could ask the majority of the college football players in the nation, who's the CEO of your Alumni Association? They might not know, but I would hope our guys would know it's Archie Griffin. I can't speak for all of them, but it's pretty special.
Take our final question, far left.
Jim, do you think Utah has a legitimate claim to the national championship?
Oh gosh, we have a system, and as a part of the American Football Coaches Association, and also Mac and I both are on the Board of Trustees, we have an agreement that we'll vote the winner of the BCS National Championship game as the national champion. So I've always been one that believes that you go with the system because you agreed upon it on the way in the door. Now, did Utah have an extraordinary year? Absolutely. For them to, they went over to Ann Arbor and beat Michigan, which pretty darn good. They beat, I think, TCU and beat Alabama. Man, they're good. So they're going to be ranked very high, on my ballot. But, for me to say that, that they should be, ranked number one, I don't think so because, we have a system.
Great. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you.